the final score, Wrexham 1, Peterborough United 0. Probably, I'd say, the grimmest match we've had at the racecourse since the takeover, in terms of spectacle and in terms of not achieving what we wanted to achieve. But a great lesson in football, isn't it, really? That we suffered for 2 hours with a really subpar performance, struggled like hell. But ultimately, we get the goal and then find that Wycombe and Huddersfield have both dropped points, and all of a sudden this becomes a glorious day in our season. We win at home, and two of our contenders, the team directly above and below us, don't win, and it's a great day for us, and that kind of sums up football, doesn't it? Phil Bogson's thousandth match in charge as a manager, a terrific achievement, commemorated, like I said, by a performance which really lacks the qualities that we've consistently shown. But if you get the results, that's all that matters. And now we go into a little bit of a break from league football and are able to recharge the batteries and get ready for the post-January push towards the top two. So yeah, Wrexham made changes. Arthur Okonkwo coming back in goal, and also on the wings, well, Ryan Barnett had a slight strain. James McLean had been struggling with illness, and so we saw Jacob Mendy and Seb Revan coming in to make starts on either flank. Andy Cannon came in as well for George Dobson. And Peterborough arrived with, well, shall we say, the reputation of being likely to be a pushover. Their away record's horrible. They could have equalled their club record for the most consecutive away league losses at the racecourse, except they managed to get a point in their previous away game 4 days earlier at bottom team Burton, who were winning 2-0. So even that was a performance that was criticised massively. Darren Ferguson, their manager, and of course Wrexham legend, has admitted, held his hands up and said after that game that he got his recruitment wrong in the summer, and they defensively have been horribly vulnerable. They're a very young squad. Only Jed Steer, their keeper, who isn't in the squad, actually, at the moment, is older than 26, if my research is correct, and certainly backed up by the Peterborough media guys, although they did quite rightly point out that last season they nearly got promoted with a similarly young squad. But this year it's backfired on them, and gosh, it was revealing doing my research for the game, just reading the local newspapers' reports and reaction, and also Ferguson's post-match thoughts. Remarkable amount of criticism of their defending and the nature of the goals they concede. So a team struggling away from home against a side with the best home record in the division looks pretty straightforward, but it most certainly was not. Now, we started really quickly, and the first 5 minutes or so, in which we get 3 corners and we are really hassling them in their own penalty area, felt like the beginning of something. It looked like exactly what you want against a team that apparently has got naive defenders, apparently making unforced errors, because we were at them all the time, troubling them, and it was difficult for them to do anything but clear it back to us, who then would put the pressure back on again. So it started beautifully, but we didn't create any chances from that enthusiastic play, and Peterborough started to get the ball down and play, which is their style, and they did it well. They were calm on the ball at the back. They moved it around well, and all of a sudden we weren't getting at them, and indeed there were spells where they were camped in our box. I'm not saying this to criticise Revan and Mendy, both of whom I rate, but on the day I think we did miss McLean and Barnett. I mean, all the talk before the match, including from Ferguson, was about how Peterborough don't do well defending crosses. Well, we didn't get that many crosses in all honesty. It's different from normal when you've got Barnett and McLean really terrorising defences and stretching them out wide. Mendy made a couple of good breaks forward, but maybe didn't quite release the ball quickly enough. Revan, likewise, I suppose, really, and especially he's left-footed and he's playing on the right, and he was often trying to cut back on his left and pull the ball back in, and maybe he ought to have, having committed the full-back and dragged him deep, pulled it back for Cannon or Cleworth, who would be waiting for that pullback. But anyway, for whatever reason, hey, surprise, surprise, no comment particularly on Revan and Mendy, but, you take out maybe the 2 best wide players in the division, and we're not as good out wide. Go figure. I must also say neither of those players have started the game for quite some time. So, it's difficult for them to come back in. Anyway, we weren't creating until halfway through the first half, first opportunity to do something, really. Good work by Mendy, who caught Johnston, who Peterborough had signed that day, at right wing back, and Wrexham had a 4-on-2 break. Now, it looked, what happened next, like maybe Mendy had not done well. I think, to be fair to him, it wasn't his fault. We've got Mullin and Palmer driving forwards through the middle and Cannon on the far side. Mendy's driving down the left. I think maybe Mullin and Palmer both trying to get into the box to be a target for a cross, perhaps reduce Mendy's options in terms of being able to pass it around and take advantage of the extra men that we had. And it also kind of means that if you want to take advantage of having extra players, he's got to go to Cannon at the far post. It's not the easiest of passes. He plays it pretty well. Cannon, though, it's not an easy control for him either, and he brings it under control pretty well, but not well enough to get a shot off, really. Instead, he gets it on the right and pulls it in the goalmouth, and the centre-back, Valine, has done well to beat Mullin to it under the bar, and the ball goes away and it's cleared. And it was kind of like that. And Peterborough, Valine, the right-sided centre-back, was doing really well coming forwards and making advantage of the extra man he created by stepping into midfield. And they were neat and constructive. The real threat, though, was Chris Con Clark, who, by all accounts, was very good at Burton and is a nice, skillful player. We've seen that against us, not only for Peterborough, but also for Altrincham. And he was dropping between the lines and threatening us and finding space. And he, maybe should have scored just before the half hour. Bilakovic, the goalkeeper, caught the ball. Good early release, not for the first time. This one was from a Wrexham corner, so immediately the break is on. He releases it. Peterborough build sharply. The ball's worked out to the left. Hayes, who did really well at left wing back, a young player again. Well, I shouldn't say that. They all were, weren't they? Who apparently has done well this season on the right side of attack, but at the moment is playing left side of wing back. Did really well, beat Revan and drove it in across the face of goal. Clark arriving at the far post. It's an open goal, essentially. He's in the 6-yard box. Cannon does really well to put pressure on him, though, and it more hits Con Clark than anything else. Still rebounds on target, but luckily for Wrexham, straight to Okonkwo, who's recovering, coming back from the near post. Incredible escape for us. Although we then nearly scored at the other end. Okonkwo goes long, Palmer flicks it on nicely, and Mullin, getting in between the centre-backs, is one-on-one with the keeper, but Katonga's come across really well and puts him under a lot of pressure. He has to take on an early finish, and with the keeper Bilakovic off his line, Mullin tries the lob and gets too much under it, and it goes comfortably over. Just after the half hour, Wrexham again having to work hard. Beg your pardon. Sorry, we'll start again. Wrexham again have an opportunity. This time, Katonga passing it backwards. Wrong foot's Fernandez, central centre-back, who slips. And as a result of that, Mullin, what's wrong with me today? Palmer is in on goal, but he isn't able to get into a great position as he drives into the left channel, and then he hits a weak shot, which he feels was because of a penalty. I'm not so convinced. Valine had come back from his advanced position, done well to get back. He put his hand into Palmer's back, yeah, absolutely, but I don't think it was enough to warrant a foul, maybe enough to knock him off balance a bit. And we continue to toil, really. Peterborough controlling possession pretty well. We had the odd little moment of hope. Mullin took a free kick from just outside the box, but flicked it just over the crossbar. In the second half, same pattern, in all honesty. Wrexham struggling to really create things, and we again nearly conceded 10 minutes into the second half. O'Connor off the pitch after having treatment. Good skill by Con Clark again on the flank. Crosses the ball in, and Revan does really well to win the header against a much taller Ohonvi on the edge of the 6-yard box. And then Mullin, who dropped back into midfield to cover for the absent O'Connor, does really well to draw a free kick from Hayes, and the danger is gone. Phil Parkinson isn't going to hang around, so 15 minutes into the second half, he brings on Stephen Fletcher. And he does start to improve matters. He's bullying the centre-backs a bit more. Like I said, we weren't asking enough questions, I think, of their defence and their keeper. And to be fair to the strikers, Palmer won his fair share. Mullin's movement was good, but we weren't getting good quality service to them, or not feeding them in positions where they can isolate somebody often enough. Straight after Fletcher comes on, there's another moment of hope. Revan doing well to find Mullin, who just dropped off to make a space and then drove into that space down the right. He cuts into the box, drives it across the face of goal, looking for Fletcher. Katonga gets a foot to it, but deflects it towards goal. Comfortable save by Bilakovic. And, well, there's your issue, isn't it? Really, 61 minutes gone, and that's the best we've managed, is a soft save off a deflection from a defender. At the other end, there's a Con-Clark free kick by the corner flag, which is put under the bar, and the big centre-back Fernandez jumps with Okonkwo and gets to it first, but heads it over. Okonkwo not making it, but at least getting close enough to be able to put Fernandez off, as he desperately appealed for corner, which it never was. At the other end, Cannon, who was lively in midfield as well to win the ball back after an O'Connor corner has been half cleared. It's picked up by James, who squares it, and Mullin, with just a fraction of a moment to be able to hit a shot on goal from outside the D. Hits it with his left foot. Good contacts and good instincts, but too straight, and a comfortable save. Revan then has a promising moment, winning a tackle on the corner of the box, cutting it onto his left foot and trying to curl it around into the far top corner, but he puts it just off target. A good effort this by him, and within a minute a double change. A bold one by Parkinson in that Mullin comes off for foul. But Mullin did okay and was looking lively. Also Mendy comes off and McLean comes on, and I think it's really these three changes he's made up to this point that make the difference. Obviously Fletcher, because he will score the goal, but McLean comes in and he brings that McLean energy. All of a sudden, we're bristling with a bit more intent on that part of the pitch. McLean is driving forwards, is coming inside as well, and is really in the centre of the game. And as well, Farl did again a good job off the bench for me, just causing hassle in the box. He's unorthodox, but he's awkward for the defender to handle. And yeah, he just added to that sense of Peterborough's defence now starting to live up to their billing and have a few panicky thrashes away and little edgy moments at the back because they're getting worked a bit more. And indeed, there's a little moment that could have led to a goal. McLean driving the ball forwards. Fletcher looked offside to me, but he flicks it on. Cannon does well to bring the ball into control on the right side of the box in the crowd and pull it back for Revan, who tries the same shot again that he tried about 5 minutes earlier, the curler into the far top corner. Can't get this one on target. The fans are unhappy and they did get on Revan's back a little bit, which I thought was unfair. The whole team didn't live up to their usual standards. And to be fair, that the first shot he made, everyone was excited. It was our best efforts of the game at that point. That second one isn't that much more off target, to be fair. It's a legitimate idea. But anyway, we keep pushing on. Cleworth stands up a good ball to the edge of the 6-yard box from the right. Fletcher gets up well and plants his head on it, but can't get over the top of it, and the ball goes over the bar because, again, Valine has got tight on him and just knocked him off balance. But now, for the first time in the game, you're starting to feel a goal might be coming. We're starting to take control in midfield. We're pushing them back. Like I said, McLean is giving us a bit of punch. Fletcher is roughing up the centre-backs. And you just feel, okay, we're still not what we normally are, but we're threatening now. A minute later, a funny little movement where the ball's played down the left-hand side by O'Connor. Fletcher gets it well with Valine, and the ball drops loose. Farl is following up on it. It hits him more than anything else, but bounces nicely into the path of Fletcher, who hasn't got much time to react, but latches onto it and drives the ball into the box, where Hayes at the far post gets to it first, but in looking to thrash it clear, smacks it against Valine, who's standing right in front of him, and it could have ricocheted anywhere. Luckily, for Peterborough, it doesn't ricochet on target. But it is starting to get a bit like this now. Like I said, Peterborough are starting to live up to that billing of you put balls in the box and they're panicking a bit. And there's quite a few thrashed clearances. Fernandez makes one when the ball it's the keeper's ball and he's just waiting for it to arrive, and Fernandez just steps in front and launches it, which leads to a very long spell of possession by Wrexham as we move it around on probe. And it's starting to turn that way for the first time in the match. They're giving the ball straight back to us. Well, the first time since those opening stages. Ultimately, they pay the price. 87th minute winner. A good, again, 10-pass move by Wrexham as we just pen them in and probe for gaps. In the end, O'Connor feeds the ball down the line to Rathbone, who does really well. Takes on his man, accelerates past him, stands the ball up beautifully to the far post, and there's Fletcher with an excellent header. Really gets up well, makes good contact on it, and puts it right in the top right corner, where even Balakovic, who's a big guy with long arms, can't reach, and the stadium goes nuts. Fletcher celebrates by getting himself a bucking. For taking his shirt off in his celebration. It's got to be said, my goodness, if you can throw a shirt that high, I think maybe it was worth taking the bucking. He got a lot of altitude on it. But yeah, so again, 4 home games in a row now that Fletcher has scored as a substitute. The club record was what he established in the last game. Only 2 players, only once before Fletcher with this run has anyone actually managed to get sub-goals twice in a row. So he's doubled the club record. His 3rd highest scoring substitute for Wrexham now, and is equal top scoring home substitute for Wrexham. Wow, quite something. Dobson comes on for Andy Cannon, give him a bit of a break. Dobson gets himself booked as well. He's a little unlucky, I think. He wins the ball cleanly and the ref books him for his follow through, and I'm not sure there was all that much in it. It hit the man and he was hurt, but I'm not sure it was really that sinister. But we hold that pretty comfortably, in all honesty, even though Balakovic goes up for a corner right at the end of the match, and we win. It's an ugly win. It's a performance in which we're not ourselves, but it's 3 points. Never mind the quality, feel the result, and that's the key thing in football. Like I said, don't know how Wickham played, don't know how Huddersfield played, but they dropped points. It's a point on the board at the end. So, ironically, we suffered for 2 hours, but it was a very good day. Looking at the performances, Okonkwo didn't have a save to make, in all honesty. I thought the centre-backs did well, although I didn't think Peterborough had a huge amount of threats. Jones up front for them was very quick. Honvier put himself around well. I thought he played quite well. And their subs, when they came on, they pushed a couple of attacking subs. And in the end, they pushed Fernandez up as well when they went behind. But we handled them well. O'Connell, I think, probably the outstanding one. Good to see that after he had a couple of moments at Barnsley. But he was really dominant in the middle. Cleworth had O'Connor as well. Solid defensively. Maybe not quite driving as deep into the opposing half as they can do, but again, I think that's because they had different wing backs outside them. The dynamic was a little bit different, and yeah, to be fair to Wrexham, we took 2 key players out of the sides, and it was different, naturally. Those 2 wing backs, like I said, aren't as effective as Barnett and McLean in that match. Revan started very brightly. We didn't get much of a chance to really release him sprinting down the flanks, which of course is his strength. His pace is his strength. And on other occasions, we haven't really been troubled by this, but on this occasion, he was playing on the right and looked like he really wanted to get in the left. He didn't interact as much with Cannon, who of course works so well with Barnett. I'm not criticising him or Mendy. They are just different and lacking match fitness or sharpness, and that's the point. Mendy made some good driving runs, but then maybe he was a little slower than maybe McLean would be in terms of deciding what he does at the end of it. Although that big moment for him, the 4-on-2 breakaway, I think his options were more limited than it looked. They had solid games, and defensively, well, Revan had a couple of issues because Hayes, the left wing back, as I said, was a good player. But beyond that, no, they had good solid games. Centre mids, Matty James again, good on the ball, kept it circulating well. I thought Cannon did well, lots of energy, winning the ball high up the pitch. But like I said, the combination's not quite there as they are with Barnett. Rathbone player of the match, just everywhere. He or O'Connell for me. And Rathbone's just everywhere. He works so hard, doesn't he? And then puts quality in like he did for the goal. Up front, I had a lot of sympathy for Mullin and Palmer, who worked hard, and it just wouldn't quite happen for them. And then Fletcher comes on. Maybe he's man of the match as well. I've got another bravura performance by him. He and Fall caused problems. McLean did well. So, yeah, we weren't a well-oiled machine, but we got the win. And that's all that matters. So we go on now. Virtue Trophy coming up on Tuesday, which will be a chance to get minutes in players' legs, and then a little bit of a break in the league. But yeah, that's a very pleasing way to sign it off. And although we've had to rely on late goals a lot, in 4 of our last 5 home games we scored a winning goal in the 87th minute or later. The fact is, never mind that, just look at the column, all the W's. Yeah, it's not bad. It's good reading. We've done well through the Christmas period, and we've set ourselves up nicely now to push on from January. With a final score of Wrexham 1, Peterborough United 0, I'm Mark Griffiths from Wrexham AFC.